Yeah, thank you, Deputy Chief Crockett. I'm now going to recognize members for 5 minutes, and I am going to begin questioning here. You heard in my opening statement the comments about the closure of sawmills, especially in the western part of the country. More than a third of the sawmills in the country have shut down over the past 25 years, in large part because of the lack of certainty that they were going to be able to get wood. We've been hearing that story, for example, from the Black Hills out in South Dakota. How has the reduction in sawmills affected the Forest Service ability to manage its forest, and how would the Forest Act help?
To push that talk button. As you mentioned in your opening remarks, the Forest Service cannot do our work if we don't have places to take the byproducts that come off of the Forest Service land. The bill, because it expands the ability for sawmills to tribes, that gives us another place to have our products, our restoration products go, and knowing that they're tribally supported mills is an added benefit.
So isn't it correct that without some long-term contracting being done, future investors are going to have a hard time justifying making an investment, aren't they?
Long-term viability and long-term access to a sustainable wood supply is something that we've heard from industry for a significant amount of time. 20-year stewardship contracting is a way of doing that. We also have other tools such as long-term sustained yield units that we've held in the past. And we know that when you implement a 20-year stewardship contract, the certainty can be there for industry to take that to the banks to be able to get the financial supply that they need. But there's a lot that can change over a 20-year period. And we recognize that structuring a 20-year contract in a way where you can do an reevaluation over that 20-year period is an important component of it.
So in the state of Wisconsin, we have a managed forest law program that has 25 and 50-year programs, works very effectively. Why couldn't that be done here also?
So that sounds like it's similar to the long-term sustained yield unit that I mentioned just then. So no objections to it happening in that way. What I would say is the Forest Service is interested in making sure that we are partnering with the industry to provide a long-term sustainable supply of wood.
The Forest Service enhances, or the Forest Act that you see before us enhances Good Neighbor Authority. The Fix Our Forests Act also included improvements to GNA, including the ability to construct new roads. It's my understanding the Senate version of the Fix Our Forests Act removed the provision to be able to construct new roads. How would allowing tribes to construct new roads under GNA improve forest health and fire suppression?
Yeah, so road access is a significant component of our ability to do a restoration treatment. If we don't have a way of getting it out of the woods, it can't get out of the woods. So to answer your question around the ability for revenue retention or roads to be built under the Good Neighbor Authority, that would be a benefit, not only to tribes, but to states and counties and others who access the Good Neighbor Authority.
So the Senate is wrong in trying to remove the constructing new roads provision?
I'm not here to pass judgment on the Senate, but what I will say is the ability to tap into roads for Good Neighbor Authority is a plus.
I was too obvious with my question, wasn't I? I have to be much more subtle. You mentioned that there's, it sounds like you have a few concerns from a legal standpoint in terms of jurisdiction with the bill before us. Is that accurate?
That was one section. Section 2, we want to work with the committee on the legal jurisdictions of tribe or lands being transferred to the BIA and then commingling those responsibilities for managing it long term.
I yield back. Thank you for answering those questions. I now recognize the ranking member, Mr. Neguse, for 5 minutes. I will recognize the ranking member, Mr. Huffman, for 5 minutes.